Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 117. We did take off last week. James had some severe weather in his area. I was a bit under the weather, so we just decided to not do one last week, but I was able to get the lost episode and James and Bill's midweek up as well. So it didn't go without last week, that's for sure. So this week we are covering quite a bit tonight. First, we'll talk about the mini mail survey results that James and I had. We'll go over what you can and can't dispute again. And, of course, the relief day work list and the Sunday holiday volunteer for the leave replacements. That goes up on Saturday the 12th to sign up. And as requested a while ago, I will go over the matrix. I know, I do believe that was the steward highlight thing this past Thursday. Obviously, none of us were able to sit down on that, but I've been asked how to explain the matrix, how it works for RCAs. So we'll cover that as well.
That movie.
What was that, Bill?
I love that movie.
So yeah, we got a little bit going on. I am still working on my edit book presentation. Don't worry, we'll get there hopefully, if not next week, the week after, for sure. So, on that note, how was your week, James? Or 2 weeks, I should say.
Well, 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since we've been on here. Yeah, I know you guys up there were dealing with a crap ton of winter weather, especially ice. I actually saw a video of the ice falling off the support wires of the Mackinac Bridge there. Chunks of ice the length of a car falling onto the road surface. That was crazy to see. And I know Gaylord and other areas up there got really slammed hard. I heard that there was, the highest total I heard was 1.5 inches was reported in Elmira, Michigan.
Which is just west of Gaylord, yep. It was actually pretty much that whole tip of the mitten there. I'm going to say Mackinac down to Kalkaskett-ish.
Almost. All the way down. Almost.
And then all the way straight across to Alpena. I was just south by about 10 miles of having the ice storm. Thank goodness. But yeah, my daughter on last Sunday, I reached out because they had lost their power. And by Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., she called and said, "Can someone come get me?" And they got their power back on after 6 days yesterday. And her dad and Ruby met so she could go home to go back to school Wednesday. But go ahead, finish up, James.
Yeah, while you guys were dealing with the ice storm, of course, we had the severe weather in the southern part of the state. And at one point, I mean, for me, I actually went under a severe thunderstorm warning with 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts attached to it. Now, it did not affect me. However, it did take my power out right about the time we would be actually recording this episode. So that wouldn't have helped things at all for the episode. So I'm glad we did take the week off for that. And another interesting weather fact, at one point in the state of Michigan, the distance between a severe thunderstorm warning and an ice storm warning was 20 miles.
And I was I was in those 20 miles.
Yeah. But it's crazy to think about that and how different the weather was in just that short little distance there. But
Mhm.
this week was really good. Did find out my sub did not input box holders on the weekend, so I got permission from the management to put them in this week to make sure that they got counted for my route. And of course, they had three box holders on Saturday, so on Monday I had one box holder to deliver, but that's okay. Do the job. I understand that you can't take three box holders out at once. For most people, it's too much, and especially on a route that you only have an hour and a half playroom from the evaluation to when the truck gets there. I know a lot of people work a lot more than that, so I feel for them as well. This week was pretty good, other than, of course, severe weather going on all over the country, flooding and stuff like that as well. We got flooding here in Michigan too.
Mhm.
But really, this weekend was nice. I finally got a couple days to work on stuff without rain being in the area, and then went and visited my mom yesterday today, and got to spend some time with her. So that was very nice. And then came back here for the podcast. And I will say the hardest thing about the past 2 weeks is the number of messages received of people begging for help on their 4241s. So, but other than that, it was a good 2 weeks overall for the post office. How was your 2 weeks of not to do list, Bill?
God, if I get any busier on things not to do, I'm going to retire again. Some of you may know my wife and I are looking for a house or a piece of property to build a house on, and the housing nightmare continues. But we're not going to settle on anything unless it fits our needs exactly, and that includes gas, heating, and cooking, and enough property for her to have her garden and her chickens. So property-wise, we can find the raw land. It's then going through the permits and zoning regulations for several different townships, boroughs, counties that we're encountering. We did find a nice property. Unfortunately, it's in a flood zone, and it's $675 a month for flood insurance.
Ouch.
Just for the flood insurance, not that. That's not even the rest of the house insurance. And even the better is the fact that the well is inside the house. It has a well. It's inside the house. Of course, my first son said, "Dad, don't look down there. There's a woman trying to get out." I'm like, okay, little bastard. But it's been a busy weekend. Some things developing in our office. I have a pertinent question for both of you that I'm going to present later on about adjusting routes. And weather here, we had decent weather last week, and then this week coming up, we're not getting out of the 40s. What the hell? How do you go from 76, 1 week back down into the 40s? We actually have frost warnings for the mornings 3 days this week. Mother Nature is a fickle bitch. And with that, how was your 2 weeks, Kristen?
Oh, where do I begin? No, it wasn't too bad. The first week there, Ruby started her, where am I at? Okay, so this past week, Ruby started her OJT. We did 2 days. We did Tuesday and Wednesday to start with. They were going to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then 1 day this coming week, and then be on her own. I'm like, no. I mean, if you're gonna have to split it up due to coverage, then do it 2 days this week, and then do 2 days at the end of this coming week. And then so it's still fresh in her mind. So do Thursday, Friday, and then she's on her own Saturday. So I did talk him into that. I will not be doing the last 2 days of OJI. But I did the first 2 days. She did get a car. It's a beater with a heater, basically. But other than that, this week, let's see, last week, pretty much, the same old, same old. Ruby and I went to a concert last week. It was her Christmas present, and then we went to one this past Friday. Of course, I end up always having to work the next day. We got one coming up on Tuesday. Of course, I'll have to work Wednesday, but that's how life is in general. For me at the moment, it's run, 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 run. But yeah, the I got lucky with the ice storms that hit northern Michigan. Personally, my daughter and her father didn't fare so well. Their apartment, they said when James was talking, they were out for 6 days. They're tentatively going back to school this coming Wednesday. There will be no busing. It is horrible. I mean, mail has finally been starting to go out as they can access boxes and roads within the last few days of this past week. It's crazy. Ruby went Tuesday after we did her OJT to go pick Sophia up because she called and said, "Hey, can I come over?" And so Ruby took my car and went over and got her, and even she said it was just surreal still on Tuesday the way it looked over there. So yeah, that's definitely not the best scenarios over there, but they are pushing through. The National Guard finally showed up on Friday, I think it was, to help start cleaning up the downed trees. I do know one of the power companies, the one that handles mainly the rural areas, said that they basically have to rebuild their whole grid. So those that are in those rural areas in northern Michigan under that electric company are probably going to have to wait quite a bit longer. There's still many, many people without electricity, but they are rallying, communities are rallying together and trying to help people out as much as possible. So that's always awesome. But
yeah, the worst part about it is because of the ongoing severe weather across the country that's going on. Usually, when situations like this happen, the linemen all rally together and they come from all different states to help fix this stuff.
mm-hmm.
But right now, with what's gone on, especially the severe weather down here, you're not getting our guys going up there. They're fixing the problems down here. And then even further south, you've got the tornado damage, the flooding, and things like that they're having to fix down there. So it's very hard to imagine that we're in basically the worst case scenario for getting electricity back on because everybody's focusing on their own territories right now and
Yep.
can't assist in other territories that are damaged.
I do know they have crews from as far as Texas that have come up. So they are getting the assistance from linemen and stuff from
Way
other
further
states
away.
as they can. Like I said, it was just the National Guard finally got activated to come in and help. There's been other area communities that, the local Meijer chains, which is a Michigan-based chain store for those that aren't in the Midwest that are familiar with Meijer, they were giving out water and snacks, and the Home Depot, Lowe's, they were getting generators delivered daily by the pallets. They weren't even unloading the pallets. They just opened them up and they would selling out just as fast. We had gas stations. There was only 2 gas stations in Gaylord at one time that were had fuel available. They were running completely on generators. Lines to get in were a quarter mile long with police directing traffic into the gas stations. So we've had, so even the one of the family-owned ones in one of the other smaller towns that has a grocery store connected, they had the generators hooked up so they could have the gas available. They normally aren't open 24 hours, but they were having people there, staff, to be available through the night for people to get fuel. Fuel trucks come in and on the daily. So yeah, it has really been community rallied, and one of our listeners posted who is from Gaylord that there is a lot of down trees still. They did a short ride through town, and once they got back from their vacation, and her neighborhood is still covered in trees over lines, and so it's definitely going to take time to be back up 100%. So, but they're slowly doing it as they can. Kids got an extra week and a half of spring break so far, so starting to somewhat get back to normal. But we're going to cover real quick. I know I'm going to go over what happened on my mini mail survey and my new evaluation here real quick. I went up to what, a 46K. It would have been the spring. Was it the spring one? I don't remember. No, it wasn't. Yeah, I think it was the spring one. My mind just so much going on at once. So anyways, I kept a 46K for a year. I unfortunately lost an hour this time around and went down to a 45K. I lost a little over an hour in standard hours. I mean, I literally went from 54.56 down to 53.35, so I actually went down to a low 45K. But a lot of that, it was in my parcels. I literally lost over an hour in just parcels under my street volume time. And that adversely, coincides with losing my load time as well. So, unfortunately, I mean, I do have a couple things I will be disputing otherwise that I can dispute. But I was mad when I first got them. So I was looking at it and I was looking at wrong stuff. So I set it down and went back and looked at it after I'd calmed myself down. And really then dug into it and saw, oh yeah, my biggest drop was in my parcels, which collates to us losing UPS, honestly. Amazon went down for a little bit, but it's been picking back up lately. So yeah, it's, that's what happens. I mean, I was around for the old mail counts and saw routes go up and down. So my office in general, our two other zip codes, both of those routes stayed the same. Our H route lost 2 hours. Myself lost an hour. The other K route lost an hour. And then our J route lost an hour. So, yeah, that was what happened in my office for mini mail survey this time around.
Yeah,
James?
my route stayed the same, 40K, but it did go up a little bit in standard hours. I am almost a fully true 40K. My standard hours are 4807.
Wow.
And yeah, I was actually impressed with that. It looks like everything that I've been doing with inputs and stuff was not removed from the system, and my mileage and everything stayed the same compared to the last survey. So really, a lot of this stuff I think is done outside of what we're really doing. And the biggest disputes that I've actually seen for people sending me stuff is management messing with numbers, like walk distances or boxes on their mapping, things like that have been changed. I have a carrier in my office who we had a postmaster who joined our office, bid on our office, won it, and then during the mapping ended up grouping all the CBUs under one CBU. She lost like 16 CBUs because of this on her evaluation. So she's disputing that. But it goes to show management messing with stuff messes with the evaluation. So I'm going to tell everybody that's listening to us, go compare your 4241. See what's changed. Find out if it's something that's due to volume changes or if it's something that management messes with. You need the A and the M to do this. And there is cheat sheets out there for you to see what's going on. And we'll post it on the Discord server under forums or something, one of the channels there for people to see. But you got to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Because like Bill says, everything you put in the scanner goes in your wallet. Well, everything on your 4241, every minute you add there goes into your wallet. So you got to make sure to go through it. And I understand a lot of people get disputes back that say no action needed, but still file the paperwork, because then that creates a paper trail that can be followed. And that's also important too. Right, Bill?
100%, dude. And like every traffic control point, means, something. We had the carrier in our office who's one of the few, and they put up for the railroad crossings. All of a sudden, that disappeared off their miscellaneous times. It's like, okay, yeah. Well, it doesn't happen that often. No, it only happens 6 days a week. And they said, oh, you can't prove that. And they says, yes, I can, because you tried to pull me in for 6 stationary incidents this week. All of them were for the train. Oh. All they have to say is, oh. I mean, this is the mentality of the individuals running the post office on the ground level. Oh. At the, and trust me, it's funny because we have a local steward in our office. He represents Westchester, which is 18 routes. And since there's another office in their Phoenixville, they turn around and within 6 months they've made him a area steward. And I'm happy for him. That's all I'll say. Not so thrilled for the carriers, but I'm happy for him. But as we said prior to the actual recording of this, if you don't dig, you're not going to find out what you're getting screwed on. And management's doing their best. I have no idea why they would be so vindictive to the craft that pays their salaries, because we're the ones that generate the income. We're the ones that pay the bills. And yet they have this mentality of screwing us over. And I don't know if it's mid-level or upper level or upper level, but it seems to be a common theme across the United States Postal Service in its entirety. There are some unicorns, but there's a lot more instances that people are just messing with the rural craft because they can, and that's why we do need that change of leadership there, Mr. President, to be.
All right, so I'm going to briefly go over the rural route evaluation dispute process. We've gone over it in detail in the past, but I'm just going to this was the one that was signed on March 24th this year. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to highlight the important stuff. The rural route evaluation dispute process will be used to address disputes where the assigned rural carrier has identified potential errors and time credits provided on the PS Form 4241A. This process will be used to resolve disputes related to the subjects below without the filing of grievances. The parties agree that carriers may dispute the following: an entry of 0 or a questionable number in any data field on the 4241A that would otherwise expect to have a time credit. This would include, then I'll continue on here. An obvious error in any of the following data fields on the PS Form 4241A: route length, regular, centralized, or total boxes, daily dismounts, daily dismount distance, collection compartments, TCP or traffic control points, daily activities, miscellaneous time, and office walk distance. Miscellaneous time has been a big one from what I have been seeing and hearing from people, that upper management is telling them that's already built in. That's already been satchel time, or any, the railroad crossing times if you have to wait for trains, the electronic parcel lockers, anything that was normally already timed in the previous mini mail surveys. A lot of them are saying, nope, that's already built in. You don't get that this time around. You didn't get it. dispute it. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Because just because you did it 6 months ago on the last mini mail survey and it was credited to your route, it needs to be redone again. Why do you think they have us redo the walk distances every 6 months in our offices now? This is why. If they're saying it's already built in, you need to go and dispute that. Plain and simple. The Postal Service and the NRLCA will designate representatives at the district and area levels to review and adjudicate the disputes filed using this procedure. These representatives will work in teams of 2 and will consult with local operations personnel to include the district delivery support specialist as necessary to review and discuss the dispute and further develop the supporting documentation. To initiate a dispute, the assigned carrier and local management representative will complete Evaluation Dispute Form 1. While completing the form, the parties at the local level shall discuss the data, field, or fields in dispute, and should they agree that appropriate credit has not been provided, they will annotate the form accordingly. Upon completion, the form with all relevant documents will be forwarded to the manager, labor relations at district, and the NRLCA district representative. The forms must be submitted no later than April 18th, 2025.
I have another dispute that they can do, and this involves the casing DPS letters. Now, this was actually stated to us at our spring booster. You remember that, Kristen? That management has unilaterally decided that it is based on 2,400 letters a week. However, our standard and the standard on paper in black and white that we have is fewer than 400 pieces of DPS letters in a day. So if you have situations where you've had days with less than 400 pieces of DPS letters and you've gotten credit for it before, that is something you need to dispute because management has found a way to cheat the casing DPS letters standard that we have set forth in the Rex 99-page guide. It is actually on page 67 in the guide if you want to take a look at it, number 9 on the page. But you should be getting credited when you receive fewer than 400 pieces of DPS letter in a day, or if you receive more than one run of DPS in a day. Those are the 2 times you should see numbers in the casing DPS letters slot on your 4241A.
Alrighty. So yeah, make sure you have disputes. Go ahead and get those have to be submitted by April 18th, which is 12 days from today, as we're recording this. So if you're listening tomorrow, 11 days. So on that note, we're going to move on to Relief Day work list and the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list, as that is coming up here on Saturday, the 12th. It will be posted for 3 weeks. Am I right on the 3 weeks, or is it 10 days? I'm not.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's
3 weeks before it goes into effect is what it is. Thank you. Like I said, my brain's all scattered everywhere. I am going to pull up I have the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list right in front of me. This goes for our leave replacements. The parties recognize the importance of successfully implementing the continued expansion of Sunday holiday parcel delivery service, which began testing in October of 2013. I said this is a little bit older, but in order to have sufficient rural carrier leave replacements available to complete Sunday holiday parcel delivery, a Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list will be established for part-time flexible carriers, substitute rural carrier associates, and rural carrier relief employees. Assistant rural carriers, ARCs, will not be included on the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list as these employees are hired specifically to work on Sundays and holidays. There will be no Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list utilized upon collapse of the hub except during peak season. Management will utilize ARCs first, then utilize leave replacements within their own office, and they may borrow leave replacements as needed to complete Sunday holiday parcel delivery during the hub collapse, which we all know is during Christmas overtime season, time of the year. And so to establish the initial one, and this will go for those offices that are going to soon be getting Sunday delivery if they don't already have it, which I've heard mine office is one of those. So if you don't have Sundays and you hear Sundays are coming in, this is what they got to do. To establish the initial Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list, the NRLCA district rep or designee and a Postal Service representative designated by the district manager human resources will create a listing of all available part-time flexible rural carriers, substitute rural carriers, RCAs, and rural carrier relief employees assigned to the hub location, including stations, branches, and any remotely managed post offices, associated spoke offices, and nearby rural delivery post offices as determined by the party's representatives. Each available leave replacement on this listing will then indicate his or her desire to work or not work on Sunday and holidays accordingly. Once the signing period is complete, the list will be separated and alphabetized by last name, regardless of the seniority, classification, or the assigned office. One list will include all volunteer leave replacements as identified above, and the second list, non-volunteer leave replacements. The initial list will be amended as new RCAs are appointed and/or PTF, substitute rural carriers, RCAs, or rural carrier relief employees are separated or converted to regular rural carrier. If necessary, the party's representatives may reconvene in advance of a Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list posting to ensure all leave replacements are properly annotated. Newly hired RCAs will be afforded the opportunity to place their name on the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list as volunteers within 60 days of hire. If these rural carriers choose not to sign the volunteer list at this time, they will be placed on the non-volunteer list. When it is necessary to schedule rural carrier leave replacements for Sunday holiday parcel delivery, management will first utilize any ARCs assigned to the hub location or associated spoke offices. If there are no ARCs assigned to these locations or an insufficient number of ARCs, management at the hub location will then select leave replacements from the volunteer list on a rotating basis. If there is an insufficient number of leave replacements on the volunteer list, management will schedule leave replacements from the non-volunteer list, also on a rotating basis. Rural carrier associates serving a vacant regular routes or serving regular routes during the extended absence of regular carriers, including the first 90 days before becoming a designation 74, will not be scheduled for Sunday holiday parcel delivery unless all leave replacements from both the volunteer and non-volunteer lists are scheduled. Leave replacements on both the volunteer and non-volunteer Sunday holiday parcel delivery work lists will be bypassed in rotation if the leave replacement has approved leave or an approved non-scheduled day adjacent to Sunday or the holiday. However, the leave replacement on the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list may notify management in writing that he or she does not wish to be bypassed in this circumstance, provided notice is given at the time leave is requested. In addition, management may bypass leave replacements for Sunday holiday parcel delivery if such assigned work hours would result in the leave replacement exceeding 40 hours at the end of the work week. All right, so then the implementation guidelines, hub office assignment list. To begin the process for establishing Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list, the USPS and NRLC reps for each district shall meet for the first to create the hub office assignment list. Hub office assignment list is inclusive of the hub office, including any stations, branches, remotely managed post offices, assigned spoke offices, and any nearby offices with rural delivery. The determination of which nearby offices to be included on the hub office assignment list will be through joint agreement between the designated reps. All right. Upon completion of the 2-week signing period, a copy of the hub office sign-up list will be returned to the designated USPS rep who will work with the NRLCADR or designee to create the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list. The hub office sign-up list will be consolidated and then alphabetized by last name, regardless of seniority, classification, or assigned office, and listed by volunteers, non-volunteers, and then designated 74 volunteers, non-volunteers. The final Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list will be forwarded to the installation heads no later than and that was when they first set it up in 2016, so I don't need those dates. Scheduling. When it is necessary to schedule rural carriers for Sunday holiday parcel delivery, management will schedule the appropriate number of carriers as follows. ARCs by seniority on a rotating basis. Volunteer leave replacements on a rotating basis. Non-volunteer leave replacements on a rotating basis. If all leave replacements, both volunteer and non-volunteer, are scheduled, and additional rural carriers are needed, management will schedule designation 74 leave replacements utilizing volunteers before non-volunteers. And as we all know, we still have the MOU for regulars as well, so that would fit in after the designation 74s, I do believe. Management may bypass, I can't talk tonight, a leave replacement in rotation if such assigned work hours would result in leave replacement exceeding 40 hours at the end of the week. Maintaining the list. Newly hired leave replacements may request to sign the list as a volunteer within 60 days of hire. Local management should notify the hub office that a newly hired leave replacement needs to be placed on the Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list either as a volunteer or non-volunteer and is to be appropriately incorporated into the scheduling rotation. Peak season. The Sunday holiday parcel delivery work list will not be utilized in these locations where the hub office is collapsed or decoupled. So, yeah, basically that's for the leave replacement Sunday holiday that comes up on the 12th of April. It's posted to sign up if you wish to do so. And I did have the relief day work list one. Where did it go?
Through
Go ahead, Bill.
through all this bullshit, okay, management's responsibility for fiscal integrity of the Postal Service is not supposed to put you on that list if there's the opportunity of you going over 40 hours, okay? So in their infinite wisdom, management say, well, we'll take volunteers from regulars because if they're making $40 an hour and they're getting time and a half to help on a Sunday or holiday, that makes better sense than having a new RCA making time and a half.
Exactly.
Making just over $30 an hour.
Well, I left out at 45 an hour, okay, James? So, you know, if they offered the overtime, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Well, yeah, I'd be making $40 an hour on table 2 working Amazon Sunday.
Yeah, well, I'd be making what, $67.50?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. and trust me, I love doing parcel work.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
You know, which brings me up to a point that I've seen many times this week about carriers putting them in mailboxes or stuffing them in parcel lockers instead of taking them to the door on Sundays and holidays. What's your all feeling on that?
When I first did it, when it first implemented, I was always told it went to the door. The only very few exceptions that I ever put anything in a box was if it was weather that day, like the small little poly mailer things or something that would blow away from a porch, something like that. I would secure it in a mailbox, but that was the only thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine was the same. Only take them to the door. But a lot of our carriers were okay with us putting them in the mailbox if there was room for the mail on Monday.
Yes. Or on Tuesday after a holiday.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But you're paid by the hour to do these parcel deliveries. I understand everybody wants to get out of work on Sunday, but you are paid by the hour. The more hours you work, the more money you make on a Sunday. So, and on top of that, you're supposed to fuel the trucks when you bring them back on Amazon Sunday. So that way the carrier isn't getting screwed out of their fueling bonus with the postal trucks because we're only paid for so many fuel ups. It's one fuel up per 100 miles of route miles. So for me on my route, that's 3 fuel ups a week. Or no, 2 fuel ups a week, excuse me. 2 fuel ups a week on my route. So if I have to fuel it up because of Amazon Sunday, then it has to be fueled up again twice more that same week. So I'm getting screwed out of one extra fueling because they aren't fueling the truck. And I actually grieved that and won it in my office. And they never took my truck on Amazon Sunday again because I grieved it.
Or you do like our sub did, and he would take forever on Sundays, getting back at 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening to the point where management didn't want to be there waiting for him. So they took him off the list. They took him out of the rotation. Unfortunately for him, it was the time when I was a steward. So I turned around and filed a class action grievance against management for that. And I think it's 6 or 7 subs all got $250 each for that one.
All right, relief day work list. Article 8.5. The relief day work list at each delivery unit shall be established twice during each guarantee period. The relief day work list will be posted for a 2-week period. There, that answered my how long it will be posted. The relief day work list will be posted for a 2-week period. Each time the new relief day work list is established, it shall supersede the previous list. All regular carriers, regardless of route classification, desiring to work the relief day shall place their names on the relief day work list. The first opportunity to sign the relief day work list will be 3 weeks prior to the beginning of the new guarantee period and will be effective at the beginning of the new guarantee period. The second opportunity to sign the relief day work list will be 3 weeks prior to the beginning of the first full pay period in May and will be effective the first full pay period in May. So that is the one that we're coming up on. When a regular rural carrier is needed to work a relief day due to the unavailability of a leave replacement, the employer will 1. Select carriers on the list in order of seniority on a rotating basis to work the relief day. 2. If the need still exists, the employer will accept volunteers from regular carriers not on the list before requiring regular carriers not on the list to work the relief day. Such requirement will be by juniority. A regular rural carrier will not be required to work if the carrier has at least 1 day of annual leave, including an approved X day, or sick leave adjacent to the relief day. On the day the regular rural carrier works the relief day, the assigned leave replacement may be required to work any route in the delivery unit consistent with the provisions of this agreement. Administrative errors in the assignment of work to regular carriers on relief days will not result in monetary remedies. The employer is not required to work any regular carrier on a relief day if the assigned primary leave replacement is in the first 2 pay periods of assignment in the office, or if it caused the carrier to exceed the hours of the annual guarantee or 56 actual hours within 1 week. So that is the contractual language for that. What does compensation, and so I'm going back to the implementation guidelines. Compensation for working relief day. All regular carriers not on the relief day work list who work the relief day will receive compensation at 50% of the carrier's daily rate of pay, in addition to receiving an X day within 12 weeks will be scheduled by the employer. Regular rural carriers on the relief day work list who work the relief day will select one of the following options. Number 1, an X day to be immediately scheduled by mutual agreement between the carrier and the employer. The scheduled day must be within the next 12 weeks. Number 2, compensation at 50% of the carrier's daily rate of pay, in addition to receiving an X day within 12 weeks as scheduled by the employer. Or 3, compensation at 150% of the carrier's daily rate of pay. The carrier will not receive an X day. The regular rural carrier must make his or her election of the above options no later than the day of the worked relief day. Regular carriers who earn an X day for working relief days from the beginning of the guarantee period through the end of the Christmas period must receive the X day within the same pay period in which the relief day was worked. Regular carriers who do not receive the corresponding earned X day within the same pay period will receive 100% of their daily rate of pay in lieu of the X day. Regular rural carriers who work their relief day prior to May 20th, 2000 and have not received the corresponding X day will not receive compensation in lieu of the X day. So that was when it actually came about, was in May 20th of 2000 was the initial date. So that is relief day work list sign up and Sunday holiday parcel delivery sign up, which should be coming out April 12th for 2 weeks. And then it will be effective the first full pay period of May. So there's that for you guys. Any other discussion about that?
Isn't it convenient how the wording of the X days being assigned by management work for management's favor and not the carrier who sacrificed their X day or their drop day?
Unless you have really decent management who lets you use your X days like normal leave and you get to choose them, but not all management does. And they're technically, the language says management schedules it.
Yeah. Again, it's in management's hands.
It is.
Not for our not in our benefit whatsoever, but in management's hands.
But I will say this, the management that's out there that does do it with the carrier by mutual agreement, those are the kinds of managers that you want in offices that to take care of their carriers. Make sure that their carriers get what they need. I mean, we understand there are management out there that can't help what's going on in these offices. People don't want to work here for the low wages that we get. People don't want to work with the heavy workload that we get on our routes. But you're going to have to deal with this in one way, shape, or form until somebody steps up and actually holds management accountable to getting coverage for these routes and fighting for wages that will bring people in the door. But until that time, us helping them out with the relief day work list gives us the benefit of choosing whether we want to get that X day that management can assign or the 150% pay. And I saw somebody say that if you're okay with DACA 3, don't sign. That's what you'll get. But the problem with that is that if you have management that auto assigns the X day on you, you might as well sign up and get the 150% pay. Then management can't force that day off for you.
Exactly.
And of course, you can choose to take leave days with leave without pay at your detriment if you do the DACA 5, and that would basically be like utilizing an X day when you have the 150% pay.
But you have to remember, there are certain provisions for LWOP. LWOP has to be approved with the exception of Saturdays. Saturdays are the
Yes.
only day if there is a leave replacement available that management should be honoring the LWOP. During the week, good luck. But, all right, so relief day work list. We'll check that one off. And yes, I forgot to cut. When you sign up, you can request in writing, as I would suggest you put any requests in writing, to come off of the relief day work list at any time once you sign up. You just cannot go back on it until the next sign up period. Nor can you say, oh, I forgot I wanted to be on it. It's down now. Nope, you got to wait till the next time. Unless you're a princess in the office. But we're not going to talk about that right now. So
Okay.
yes, you can come off of it anytime after you sign up on it, but you cannot go back on it until the next sign up period.
Okay. New topic.
Yes, new topic. All right, I'm
This
going to
is
go over the matrix. The leave replacement matrix. This is specifically for RCAs, as PTFs have assigned strings. The matrix is came about in the 95-99 National Agreement between the USPS and the NRLCA. I'm just going to read the beginnings of it. Trust me, there's 20 pages of this, but it has examples on how to do stuff, whatnot. I'm not going to get into there. But I'm going to go over and read out the beginning of it and the basics on how a matrix is supposed to be filled in. In the 1995-99 National Agreement between USPS and the NRLCA, new language was added which provided for a leave replacement assignment list. This list has commonly been referred to as the matrix. The matrix was introduced in an effort to clarify the proper scheduling of leave replacement assignments beyond the primary assignment and allow for utilization of leave replacements assigned to a specific delivery unit once the office matrix is exhausted. When the initial filling of the matrix, the carriers that are qualified on more than one route must make their selection of the 2 routes to which they want to be assigned. Note, qualified is defined as having received training on or been utilized on the route. Management must then begin filling available secondary and third positions, because I can never pronounce tertiary positions, third spot, anyways. The filling of these positions must be based on 2 factors. 1, the seniority of the carriers. 2, the routes selected by the individual carriers. It is important to note that each substitute RCA or RCR will appear no more than 3 times on the matrix. Management will continue to designate assignments until the matrix is complete or there are no additional qualified employees to designate. Example, if RCA Adams selects Route 1 and both the second and third positions are unfilled, management must place Adams in the secondary position on Route 1. The contract calls for a matrix to be established for each office. The following is an example to help you better understand the matrix and the proper way it should be established. Initial filling. The first step in the process of filling an office matrix is to establish a leave replacement seniority list based on the longest period of continuous service in that office. This list should also contain the routes on which the leave replacements are qualified to work. The second step in the process of filling the matrix would require the postmaster supervisor to contact the leave replacements and allow those who are qualified on multiple routes to choose by seniority 2 routes that they are qualified to work in addition to their primary assignment. The selecting of 2 routes and the filling of the matrix should be done simultaneously. The supervisor begins contacting leave replacements by seniority. Management would begin to complete the matrix by assigning the leave replacements to the routes they have chosen, starting with the secondary position if available, If that position is not available, then the name will be placed in the third position on the matrix. This process will continue until the matrix is completed or no additional qualified employees make a selection. And matrix an office with stations or branches. The establishment of a leave replacement matrix in an office with stations or branches follows the exact same procedures that were explained in pages 1 through 4. A common mistake made by management is to establish a separate matrix for each station or branch. This is not correct. It would be correct in the relief day work list, but not in the matrix. One matrix should be established for an entire office, which will include all stations and branches and will list all regular routes along with the assigned leave replacement and those substitutes, RCAs, and RCRs designated as the second and third leave replacements for each route. When the primary leave replacement assigned to serve a route is temporarily unavailable or there is no assigned leave replacement, management must refer to the leave replacement assignment list and offer the assignment to the leave replacement designated as second replacement for the route. If this employee is unavailable or there is no second replacement, then the employee designated as the third replacement will be offered the assignment. If both second and third replacements are unavailable, management shall then offer the assignment to other qualified leave replacements assigned to that delivery unit in order of the longest period of continuous service in the office. Qualified is defined as having received training or been utilized on the route. Delivery unit for this purpose is defined as a physical location containing one or more 5-digit zip codes under the control of one postmaster or station branch manager. Management may wish to establish a separate seniority list for each individual delivery unit. In developing a specific delivery unit seniority list only, the substitute RCAs and RCRs assigned to that delivery unit as primary leave replacements will be considered. And let me scroll through to some more. See if there was any more. Filling in the blanks on leave replacement assignment list. Should a blank occur in the assignment list and another qualified substitute RCA or RCR is not currently designated for 3 routes on the assignment list, this employee may be designated to serve as the second or third leave replacement where there is none listed. Care should be taken in this vacancy or under subsequent vacancies to be sure the substitute RCAs or RCRs who previously elected to serve an auxiliary route 6 days are offered the opportunity to accept the new assignment and relinquish the 6-day assignment. That's when an RCA goes regular. When circumstances create a large number of blanks on the list due to conversions, auxiliary route assignments, etc., management should review the list to determine if sub-movement of qualified leave replacements or additional cross-training is needed. If management chooses to fill the secondary positions, management must ask the third leave replacement if they wish to move before filling another leave replacement. Hiring a new leave replacement affects the matrix. The following scenarios. Care should be taken in this vacancy. Okay, let me figure out here. Basically, when you have new ones, it's almost management's discretion to fill in the blanks with the new leave replacements. Or RCAs, I should say. Primary leave replacement vacancies may occur due to resignations, appointment to regular carrier, transfers to other offices, and creating new regular routes. A substitute RCIA or RCR who previously elected to serve an auxiliary route 6 days may later accept a subsequent leave replacement vacancy under Article 30. Once a carrier has relinquished the 6-day assignment on an auxiliary route, there is no contractual provision that allows the carrier to again elect the 6-day assignment on the same auxiliary route. This is not to say the carrier would not be allowed to elect a 6-day assignment for any other vacant or newly created auxiliary routes. When circumstances create a large number of blanks on the matrix due to conversions, auxiliary route assignments, etc., management should review the list to determine if the movement of qualified leave replacements or additional cross-training is needed. I already read that or repeated itself. So yeah, management, if they're redoing the matrix, and that is completely up to management on when they want to do that, it should always be updated when there's changes in leave replacements in RCAs. Basically, they need to go through by seniority to fill that out. When you have new ones, they may just put them in to fill the gaps. I know Ruby's already on our matrix, but yet we're missing the sub that came in, the one above her. He's not on it. Go figure. But that's already been taken care of by my local steward and being brought up. So, matrix, and that's how they're supposed to follow when it comes to the order consideration. If there is not a leave replacement, if that primary leave replacement or there is not a leave replacement for that route, then it would go to the secondary. If the secondary is not available for whatever reason, running another primary or whatnot, it would then go to the third. You can, if you are choosing, if they are allowing you to choose your secondary or your second and third choices, as long as you are on that matrix 3 times, you can have 2 seconds or 2 thirds. Instead of a primary, a second, and a third, you can have a primary and 2 seconds or a primary and 2 thirds if you wish. But again, that goes by seniority. So the lower seniority that you are, you're pretty much going to get stuck with what's open depending on the size of your office. Anybody else have anything on that?
I think you covered it pretty well.
All right. I tried. And yes,
Yeah.
if you are, and here's another situation as an RCA, you're on the matrix. Your, let's say your primary route's relief day is Saturday. I'll put an example of when I was an RCA. My primary route's relief day was Monday. At the time, we had 2 J routes. So my second and third choices were, I was number 2 for both the J routes, and they had alternating Saturdays. So I had my primary on Monday, and then I was a secondary for one of the J routes and the secondary for the other J routes. At the time, neither one of them had leave replacements. So I worked Mondays on my primary, and I rotated the Saturdays between the other 2 routes as J routes. If you are an RCA, you're on your primary, you have your primary, obviously that doesn't change unless you wish to switch at the time a vacancy becomes open and you put it in writing, as I definitely suggest put everything in writing, because that's the only way to back it up. If you are skipped on the matrix, and let's say you're the second for Route 1, and Route 1 doesn't have a primary, you're the second, you're sitting at home, and they called the number 3, or they called a different RCA, yes, you can grieve that. Because you were skipped over, and you shouldn't have been. Or, yeah. Well, PTFs, actually under order consideration, they can use a PTF before they utilize the matrix. Under the 06 and the order of consideration. Actually, I'll bring that up real quick. I normally have copies of it, but I'll pull it up. It'll be quicker for me to pull it up otherwise. So the order of consideration will tell you how that should go. Bear with me for just a moment as I am pulling it up real quick. I know the order of consideration can definitely be fun to fight at times. All right, order of consideration, box number 1. Primary assigned leave replacement. A, entitled to weekly evaluated hours when covering route for full week. May only then be replaced to avoid overtime or additional overtime. B, when covering a route for an entire week, they may be required and or request to take a relief day in a J or K routes. The relief day is not necessarily the same as the regular carrier. When a leave replacement is being scheduled on a day-by-day basis, the primary must be scheduled for work on their primary assignment if available, even if this results in compensation at the overtime rate. Box number 2, if primary assigned leave replacement is not available, management may assign an available PTF before assigning the second or third leave replacement on the matrix. If you have PTFs in your office, I know not all offices have them. Number 3, assign the leave replacement in the secondary spot on the matrix. No entitlement to overtime. Number 4, assign the leave replacement in the third spot on the matrix. No entitlement to overtime. Number 5, assign by seniority another qualified substitute RCA or RCR in that delivery unit. Qualified means having received training or been utilized on the route. No entitlement to overtime. Number 6, if no qualified substitutes, rural carrier associates, or rural carrier relief employees within the delivery unit are available, the employer may designate any other leave replacement in the office prior to selecting a regular rural carrier to work in accordance with Article 8.5, Relief Day Work List. We just covered that. Number 7, if no other leave replacements in the office are available, the employer may schedule a leave replacement from another office before selecting a regular rural carrier to work in accordance with Article 8.5. If a leave replacement is scheduled to case and carry a regular rural route in his or her assigned office, the leave replacement is considered unavailable to work in another office. Number 8, management may, on some occasions, split a route or schedule an RCA to serve a regular route and an auxiliary route. Notice the NRLCA position is that the term on some occasions does not include scheduling multiple assignments or splitting routes on a repeated or ongoing basis. Except in emergency situations, management must not schedule a leave replacement to serve on 2 full assignments or 1 full assignment and 1 or more partial assignments in a single day if the evaluations of these assignments total 12 hours or more. Number 9, select a regular carrier to work in accordance with Article 8.5. A, select carriers on the relief day work list in order of seniority on a rotating basis to work on their relief day. Carriers on relief day work list are paid one of 3 ways at their option. We already covered those. B, if the need exists, the employer will accept volunteers from regular carriers not on the list before requiring regular carriers not on the list to work the relief day. Such requirement will be by juniority. So they should offer by seniority, force in by juniority. Or C, require a regular carrier not on the relief day work list to work. This is done by juniority and does not rotate. DACA 3 is the only compensation choice. So if you are that junior regular carrier, guess what? You're the one that's going to get forced in all the time if necessary. Notes, any regular carrier may be bypassed from working a relief day if the hours worked would cause them to exceed 2080 hours for the guarantee year or 56 hours for the week. Regular carriers with annual leave, sick leave, or next day scheduled adjacent to their relief day will not be required to work the relief day. And number 10, in emergencies, any other qualified employee may be assigned. So there's your bonus of covering the order of consideration as well, since that falls right in line with the matrix and the relief day work list.
Now, that's actually one thing I want to talk about on that order of consideration. You talked about every step there, including splitting routes. Now, you've got to remember, management would rather split routes than have a relief day work list carrier work.
No,
Now,
not
I got into this discussion with representatives of the union and management's thought process is, as long as it is only RCAs, then they are not violating utilizing the relief day work list. And only if they are using regular carriers to split routes that it's a violation. So I actually do have a grievance in process over this situation right now, and I will let you guys know the results when it comes back. But that is something. The union has stated on that sheet that they believe it to be only in exigent circumstances, in an emergency situation. So my thought of an emergency situation would be on the day that it happens, somebody has called off where there's nobody to cover it, and you're not going to call in a regular carrier to come run around when you can split it with the subs that are already in the building. But if you're planning ahead and splitting routes, that's not an emergency situation. So that's part of the reason I'm grieving it. But the other reason is I do know that a regular carrier did work a route split that day when carriers on the relief day work list were available, and I also was available to work that day. That's why I'm grieving it. So we'll see how that turns out.
So yeah, that pretty much filled up an hour, guys.
I still have one subject matter to touch on.
The floor
Go
is
ahead,
yours, Bill.
The floor, how about the chair? Because I'm sitting down right now.
That works for me as well.
Okay. This has been approached several times in regards to the impending route adjustments. Okay. Some people are under the thought process that management can only use resequencing as the manner of adjusting routes. Others are under the impression that squaring off is the only way. I'm confused in regards because of the terminology in relation to what actually dictates the process. And I'm looking for your guys' feedback because of the fact that this is happening within the same SD&C where my office was, and one office is being cut, made the adjustments, territorial adjustments are being made on the basis of just getting them down to 43 Ks. Okay, no squaring off, or anything else like that. Whereas the Phoenixville office is going through a situation where they're terming it as resequencing the routes, which is terminology I'm not familiar with from the post office. So either of you have any thoughts or comments on this? Because it's confusing as hell for two different offices in the same building to be treated differently.
Well, I'm going to bring up, because I did post this in one of our Discord channels for you guys. And this kind of is similar to that. And I'm going to read this first, and then I'll go back to what the former Director of Labor Relations had put in the National Magazine a year ago in the March 2024 with what to know about upcoming route adjustments. So this was a message that I received. I'm obviously not going to give out locations or names, but this has been a road carrier for 27 years, 11 as a regular. The route is up for cut. I understand it has to be cut to a 43K, which is fine. What they have a problem with is the area they want to cut to make it square is the highest volume portion. Somehow they went up 3 hours this last count from 61 standard hours to 64, so they have to cut 12 hours a week. They have 478 deliveries and 93 miles. They want to cut at least 200 deliveries, leaving them with less addresses than the aux route currently has, and about 3 miles in that section. It all looks good on paper, but the route will tank in the next 2 evals, as most of the parcel and letter volume is part districts thinks it should be cut. How can they take so many addresses off? They propose that 70 boxes that are attached to 35 miles be taken. That puts them at 5150 for standard hours, but district says it's not square. They are cutting too much without thinking of the letter volume that goes along with it. The aux route will go regular from their cut, and if it's bigger than their current route, they'll bid on it, which I don't blame them. even though they really don't want to lose, they love their current customers. They don't want to lose half of their deliveries. And what are their rights on that? And understand the contractual cut for a year from now, it's going to close on the ox. If not an ox, they'll have a zero growth. And they're only overburdened due to Amazon. Before Amazon was a 40K, same miles, same number of deliveries. And I think due to election mail that had a lot of WSH on them to put them in the scanner. Carrier discretion, since no one could say if WSH is accounted for, they are a wreck. So, I did a screenshot of the article and let them know to contact their DR, because honestly, yeah, I mean, when you have a route it's that Amazon volume and the political mail that has bumped it that far up, because I know our 95-mile route in my office, that's 95 miles and roughly about 500 deliveries, is a 44K. So that's got to be some heavy volume, because I know what ours does. It's roughly that size. So from a year ago in the National Magazine, former Director of Labor Relations Bridget Boziak had put out what to know about upcoming route adjustments. Based on the information the NRLC has received from USPS headquarters, route adjustments will start soon. As we know, this is the next round of them. So, in this article, I'll point out what your rights are regarding to adjustments. The first place I want to point to is Article 30.1.J, Carrier's Rights and Route Adjustments. The regular rural carrier assigned to the route shall be notified in advance of any route adjustments and afforded the opportunity to submit comments in writing. The comments will be considered as a factor when such adjustments are under consideration and before any decision is made. Substantial route adjustments must be approved at a level higher than the installation, and if requested in writing, will be reviewed at the district level except for adjustments to avoid actual work hours in excess of 2080 during the guarantee period. The assigned carrier should be allowed to give suggestions on the adjustment and should put those suggestions in writing. Having said that, you know your route the best and will know what can be removed from the route, but management does not have to take your suggestions. They can remove the portion that is the most efficient for the office. The part of the route that you may want to have removed is not necessarily the best part of the route to move from the Postal Service perspective. It might make sense to you if it is the part of the route you don't especially like, but that doesn't necessarily make it the most efficient part to remove for the office. If you are in a non-formula office, management may reduce your overburden route to 52 standard hours. If you are in a formula office and you voluntarily took Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday as your relief day, management should reduce your route no lower than the 53 to 55 standard hours. There are some operational concerns where the adjustments may not be exactly 52 hours or 53 to 55 standard hours, but it should be as close as possible. The route can be adjusted down if it is a 47K or 48K, or if the carrier is unable to maintain the standard hours of the route. There have been lots of rumors about the adjustments. Postal Service will not be adjusting every route in an office unless the routes are either all overburdened or under 40 hours. They may have to move territory through your route, but if you're not having performance issues or in the 47 or 48K category, what you started as is what you should be when the adjustments are finished. For example, if your route is a 43K going into adjustment, it should be a 43K coming out. You should not end up as a 42K unless there is no operational way to keep you at a 43K. Management should keep everyone informed about what is happening during the process. They should let you and your coworkers know what is happening at each step of the adjustment process. If you have questions about what is happening in your office, reach out to your steward for help or information. And you will also find the information in the steward's reference guide under route adjustments on the website. There is no less than 25 documents that refer to route adjustments. Reminder, remember, read and ask questions. Do not rely on rumors or false information for people who do not know the correct answer. Personally, I've never gone through a route adjustment. Therefore, I can't give an answer on that because I'm going to say contact your DR or your ADR. Plain and simple.
And don't forget the extra 81 pages on top of your Rex and your RCAM and everything else you have to study for the route reset sequencing phase 2. I mean, this would take a full-time job just to figure out this stuff. They actually have a break in the middle of this route reset. You know what the fuck I'm trying to say.
Resequencing.
Thank you. It's like miscellaneous. You know what I mean?
Hey, I was good and said miscellaneous
You
both
said it right
times.
this time. You said it right this time.
Yes, she did. But I'm saying it. You know, her faux pas is my faux pas.
Exactly.
But the fact that matter is that you actually have a 10-minute break in the middle of this sequencing videos, so you can get through the damn 81 pages. That's pretty good. You give you breaks.
And just for those that do get adjusted and cut, you will be on hold for a 52-week period before you. So, and for some people, it's going to be longer than that, depending on when it's adjusted and how the mini mail surveys fall.
Exactly. Which is again in whose favor?
Post
Management.
office.
Thank you.
So speaking of that, I've had multiple people ask this question. Who gets affected by that MOU where you get held for 52 weeks plus to the next mini mail survey? So the only people that are actually affected by that are people who have route adjustments or get squared up when boxes are added or removed from the route. Those are the routes that get held at the evaluation. Resequencing does not, because that only affects your mileage. That's it.
Yeah, anytime there's territory adjustments.
Yes, territorial adjustments are the only way that they hold you for 52 weeks, plus to the next mini mail survey.
Yep. All right, guys, anything else we want to cover, or are we going to wind her down now?
My question
Sounds like a good idea to wind her.
Go ahead, Bill.
My question on reset sequencing is, well, hold it. Didn't the previous management effectively line these routes up when they made their adjustments years ago and years ago and years ago? I don't understand. Are you saying we have better management now? Just being
no.
an asshole. But,
Well, no, it's not that. It's that the routing AI that they have now wants to send you through people's backyards across flooded rivers and gorges, and they want to send you off of bridges like Apple Maps.
See, and I thought you were being silly, James.
I was being a little facetious with that very last comment. Yes, ATV trails, or like on my route, they'll send you down a dirt 2-track that's designed only for 4-wheel drive mud trucks.
It's about as bad as the Amazon dynamic delivery routing when it tries to send you through. Yeah, it is. And I remember, well, turn here. No, that's gated private property, and that's a 2-track going through their property. I can't turn down that, you idiot. Or seasonal roads. That's even funner.
Yep.
Yes.
Barricaded
in the middle of winter with 5 feet of snow on the ground. Turn down this. No, not happening. Yeah.
Golfer trails for Amazon. Wow. Recalculating.
Recalculating, right? Route. Please wait. Yeah. So, bunches of information there for you guys tonight. I read a lot. I'm sorry, but it was information that's been requested and information that needed to go out. And, things are coming about. I know we've got one route in our office that keeps saying that they're going to be cutting that one, the 148K. When? Don't know yet. so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yep, exactly. So,
All right,
anything else, guys?
I'm good.
It's been fun. No.
All right, James, your final thoughts for this evening?
We covered a lot of information today. It was a major info download today. But the results are in. People lost, some people gained, but you need to go through it with a fine tooth comb, whether you gained or lost. Because if there are minutes there to recapture, you need to find them because it's your money. Management doesn't care what goes into your wallet, but you do. Sorry, Bill, stealing your line a little bit there. But you've got to make sure you account for everything. And I understand there are some out there that when they get their disputes back and it says no action needed, think, well, you know what? I'm not going to submit them anymore. Don't be that person. That's what management wants. Management wants you to give up so that you get paid less. That way their numbers look better to their management. So make sure you're going through it. Make sure you find everything that's wrong. Even though my route stayed the same, I'm going through it with a fine tooth comb. I'm finding those flaws. I'm finding those mistakes. Because unless you're keeping track of this stuff, and I know we're all working off the clock doing this stuff, but you can do it on your end of shift duty too, going through it. Because that is something you should be doing, taking care of your route. It's route maintenance to do that. So make sure you're taking care of your route because the only one who knows it is you. You're the best person to know what your route deserves for these evaluations. So go through it, find it all, because you're not only taking care of it for yourself, but eventually you're going to be setting it up for the next carrier that takes that route.
In RCAs, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I know what you were going to say. I was getting to that. But you got to understand, these routes are adjusted on 52-week averages of everything you do to that route, plus all the other input that you put into there. And that's the same for RCAs, which you were going to say, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
RCAs need to make sure they know that they're going to be doing this stuff. I'm about to be training an RCA on my route when I get back from Western States once they get done with Academy and if they show up on the first day. You know how that goes. I'm going to be teaching them how to do these inputs in the scanner. And using Bill's line, what goes in the scanner goes in your and my wallet. So make sure we're getting what we deserve accurately. Take care of this stuff. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Bill?
Well, all I can say is that there's an overload of information out there in regards to these territorial adjustments, the resequencing, the squaring off, and you have to do your due diligence and know what is right and what is wrong, because you cannot depend on management to do this equitably and in your best interests. As Kristen said, before our sign-offs here, they may adjust them to 43, but if they can't and they make you a 42, so be it. Everything that we do is almost invariably geared for management's benefit and not ours. There is at least 100 points in our contract that needs to get rewritten to be equitable for the regular carriers, for the subs, for the PTFs, for the ARCs, for everybody. And this is why we need to change leadership. We need somebody to go line by line, word by word through the contract, and actually through the Constitution too. But the fact of the matter is that management can. It doesn't say management must, okay? And verbiage is very important in this. Like I said, James, if you put it in your scanner, it goes in your wallet, and it affects both people's wallets. And that's what I emphasize, that it goes into my wallet as well as the sub's wallet. What I get paid, you're entitled to that evaluation. So if you don't work hand in hand with each other, it's going to screw up both your paychecks. And you don't want to mess with my paycheck, because I'll come down on you. I will assist you. I will educate you. I will direct you. And then I'll plummet you if you mess up my paycheck, because that's my paycheck and my next sub's paycheck. So do it in the interest of both parties, the regular and the substitute carrier. I cannot say this more clearly than an educated carrier is the biggest threat to management's shenanigans. The stuff in regards to, reducing your dismount distances, reducing the amount of your dismounts, your traffic control points, everything. People, you have to pay attention to the details. As the pre-show stated so eloquently, if you don't go and check line by line, you'll never know what you're missing. Check your 4221 A's and M's. Make sure you're getting everything you're entitled to. It's your damn paycheck, and you can't pay your bills without getting paid correctly. Thankfully, I haven't seen anything lately up there in regards to people not getting paid on paydays, which is, almost a surprise. But folks, educate yourselves. If you don't know, ask somebody. If you don't know anybody who knows anything, get a hold of us. We'll gladly look into it. And James is getting more than 4 hours of sleep a night, so you need to keep him up a little more. But we're here. we're here to help you, and we're doing it for free because it's in the interest of all of us. Together, we can present a unified force to change the National Rural Letter Carriers Association, to change the way management deals with us, to change the toxic work environment that a lot of us deal with, as well as something is changing the number of subs, how they hire. That's got to be one of the biggest bitches. And Kristen just went through it with her daughter of trying to get hired. They've got to shorten up the process to get people on the rolls, trained, and viably out on routes so that people can have off. I mean, between Kristen and James and myself, I'll probably give you, 200 offices that we know have a severe shortage of subs. I can even name 3 have no subs at all. So go out, have a good week. I know weather's changing again. We're going with frost warnings this week. Oh my God, we're in April. But be safe, be diligent, do your job professionally and efficiently, and make sure you do it safely, okay? Get home to your loved ones, because you are the most important delivery of the day. Kristen?
Thank you, guys. It's good to be back this week. So yeah, definitely, like the both of them said, going through stuff with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, I have my 4241A and M's, as well as the printout from my mapping that I did at the end of February that coincides with all this. And I'm in the process. I have 2, possibly 3 disputes right offhand. Will it give me much time? Not enough to make up the hour and some I lost, but it'll definitely help, and it needs to be corrected. So definitely keep that in mind. RCAs, yes, do your rec scans. Do them for the routes. When you're splitting a route or you're assisting on another route for whatever reason, make sure you're changing the route number in the scanner. Option 6 on the main menu. Change route. Put that correct route in. That way, if you had to make more than one trip to the door delivering parcels, enter in those rec scans for those routes that you're splitting or you're giving auxiliary assistance to, or whatever it may be. You're training new RCAs. Teach them from the very beginning. As the Rex scans per se. So if they are out there and they've got 2 huge boxes and they have to come back to the truck and go take the second box up and come back, use that right there as, all right, go under Rex, trip the door, you made 2 trips. Do that as you're training them. That way they get in the habit of doing it and know once they're out on their own and they're working it, they'll know that, oh yeah, I got to put that in, or oh yeah, I got to put that in. It's part of the job, people. It's not going to go away. So we might as everybody be on the same page with that. It doesn't matter if you're a brand new RCA, a brand new regular, a regular on their way out the door retiring, or whatever. A PTF, I should say, as well. Leave replacement in general. Still don't have PTFs in my office, so please forgive me, guys. You know, you should be doing them every day on every route you run, even if you're running multiple routes that day. Don't forget to change that scanner over to the correct route so you can give that route credit for those additional Rex scans. But yeah, definitely, guys, as we're winding up, spring is on the way. As Bill said, temperatures are up and down, up and down. Wednesday was not fun. We ended up getting heavy wet snow and then switched to rain before we were done with Ruby out on the route on her second day of OJT. I mean, the vehicle took a few donuts, not purposely, let's put it that way. We're expected to get snow and rain in the morning here, and then it'll gradually start warming up the rest of the week. So weather out there is definitely inconsistent in many areas, so please stay vigilant and safe with the weather. Stay hydrated, as I always say that every week. It is very important year-round. And I know my office has already started the heat illness prevention training, so that is supposed to be coming about if it hasn't already started. We haven't watched our video yet because management can't figure out how to get it up on the big screen yet. So
We got rid of the video.
we were told there was a 2-minute video to watch still.
We didn't have the video on ours, and I've on the city carrier side. Yeah, it's turned into just a handout because they didn't want to have that video on there for Eugene Gates situation anymore.
I know we were told
So
we had a 2-minute video to watch, and she was going to get to it probably this week. So
let me know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But on that note, guys, stay safe this week. Stay vigilant. Get home to your loved ones safely, and we shall be back next week.